Welcome to the Nobody Asked to Me Guys show. Listen, guys, we're extremely happy that you're here. We're excited about our guest, Miss Ann Austin of BWMOC. Miss Austin is a phenomenal entrepreneur, business person, wife. She's just a Jacqueline. I can't say Jack. She's a Jacqueline of all trades, and she's going to be speaking with us this afternoon about business and what business means and whether or not you might want to go and take on that endeavor. So, without further ado, please allow me to introduce and to bring on board our guest, Ms. Ann Austin. How are you this evening, Ann?
Hey, how you doing, Melvin? Thank you so very much for having me on your platform today. It's such a pleasure.
Well, listen, the pleasure is mine, and we just thank you for being here. And we'll just jump right in, Ann. You know, a lot of times people talk about business, and we talk about business so cavalierly. And I just thought this evening, if you might
Mhm.
share with us, business. I know it sounds like a relative term, and it is a relative term, but if you don't mind sharing with us your idea and your rendition
Mhm.
of what you feel like business is.
Well, I think simply that putting on business is really all about taking your talent and your knowledge and putting it in a platform in which you can help another individual in their business. It is so much more than just doing sales or just pitching your ideas and things of that nature. You know, what are you really solving out here with your product and your service? And what type of value are you adding not only to their business but also to yourself? So for someone who is looking to start a business or to be in business, they have to have a clear understanding of what and who they are as a business person. And so one of the things that I like to teach in my courses and my classes is that there is a clear definition between being a businessman or businesswoman and being an entrepreneur. We hear that term all the time about being an entrepreneur. You see them on Facebook, and these big words, I'm an entrepreneur, but what does that really mean, really? When it comes to a business, just a business in general, right? So just really quickly,
Take your
someone who's a
time.
businessman, but someone who's a businessman or businesswoman is really someone who is taking an existing product or service and they are tweaking it to bring out a sort of different variation of a uniqueness of a value. So for example, if I'm someone who is manufacturing tennis shoes, because tennis shoes have already been created, we know people buy tennis shoes. But if I go out there and I make my own brand of tennis shoes, I already know that I'm going to make a sale because there's less risk. There's least likely the probability that I won't make a sale because it's already been done. It's already been tried and true. I just need to actually tell people the value of the tennis shoe and how it's going to be different if they buy my tennis shoes as opposed to Michael Jordan's, okay? Or Nikes or Fila's, right? So I have to pitch that difference in the value. Versus an entrepreneur, they're going to create something that has never ever been created before because all they care about is the high rate of return. So for example, if I took a pair of shoes that didn't look like tennis shoes and it had all of these mechanical and technology features in them, but they had the functionality of a shoe, I'm now taken away from the actual tennis shoe. I'm actually creating something totally new, totally different, and then I'm going to put it out there as the best next thing, hoping that I get a high rate of return and become an entrepreneur. And then once I start getting that money in, then I'm going to be only looking to how to scale it. And we see this all the time with different products where they change like the picture or they change the color of the product or they change on how you market the product. And then you still, they still grasping money from that market and they just continuously scaling it. Now that's an entrepreneur. But you do have people who have both. You have people who are a businessman and woman, and then you have people who are also an entrepreneur. And so it just depends on what it is that you're trying to sell and who are you trying to serve and how you look at yourself as a businessman or woman or an entrepreneur. And so that's sort of like my little definition that I like to kind of go down when I'm talking to individuals about
Wow, that's
that.
great. Listen, a quick opportunity to thank Brother Kente and Brother C. Will, and I want to
Hello,
give them the
Kente.
opportunity to come on. We have two cameras at the bottom. I want them to feel free to take one of those cameras as we continue down this trek. But listen, I appreciate you sharing the difference between business and entrepreneurship, because as we all know, and you've just made it crystal clear, is that there's a fog when we try to separate the two and try to understand the two. So I really appreciate that. Now, we're constantly bombarded with commercials that tell us that we need little or no money down to start a profitable business. Do you agree with those? I mean, not. Do you agree with the analogy or the thought process, not necessarily the commercial, but the analogy of the thought process when it comes to someone trying to talk us into joining a business?
Yeah, I do think that you can start a business with little to no money down, because one, you have to understand what it is that you're selling and making sure that you don't have a product or service that requires a large overhead. So for example, people who are consultants have very, very little lower overhead at all, because all they're doing is using their brain and their talent. If I was selling t-shirts, however, I have to determine what type of t-shirt I'm going to be selling, how many t-shirts I'm going to need, to who I'm selling it to. And then depending on that, that's going to determine how much money I'm going to need to start up my business. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's going to take some money to start your business. Even if you're trying to just legalize your business, get the inventory, even if you're a consultant, you still need a computer, you still need a printer, you still need all these little things. And most of the time, it can be done reasonably without a business loan, without getting into other debt with your credit cards, without borrowing money from your family and friends. You can definitely do this just using your paycheck by just simple budgeting and planning of your money. You don't have to have like $10,000, $20,000 to try to get into a business unless you're looking to franchise, like say Little Caesars or Popeyes. I can see people wanting to get in debt to do that. But if you're just trying to start just a normal business on your own, you should not be looking for that kind of funds to get started. If anything, you should be looking for someone like myself or another business coach that's going to teach you from beginning to end on how you can start your business the right way and the most cost-effective way. Because the last thing you want to do is invest all this money in the business and you still don't have a business to operate, because you spent all your money and now you don't have anything to kind of float your business. So you definitely have to understand the foundation is the first and foremost important thing, making sure that you know exactly what it is you're trying to do, and then also hire a coach or get with someone who is in business to help you understand what you need to do to build that foundation.
Wow, that's very powerful, because as I'm listening to what you're sharing, many times we see this so often when people say to us little or no money, without taking into consideration that little money to some is much money, and
Exactly.
the way you've explained that really hopefully clears some things up. Now, perseverance and tenacity are two relative terms when associated with business. If we believe this, how might that affect our interpersonal skills when dealing with our potential clients? You have to have this tenacity, and you have to persevere, and just from your professional perspective, how might that interfere with our quest, maybe I should say, to start a business?
That's a good question. I think the best way to analogize what you just said is to look at yourself as, number one, you're the brand, you're the controller of the business, and understanding all the responsibilities that you need to have in order to run that business. So one of the things that I also teach in a class that I have is team, as an acronym team. Okay. The T for the tenacity that you talked about. I always say have tenacity, have initiative, but don't rush.
Okay.
Don't rush, because when you have tenacity, you have the drive that you want to do it, you want to get it, but you're not really spending the time either to invest in all that you need to do to make sure you're making the right decision. Everybody is such in a rush to just do what they got to do to get the business going because they think that if they build it, it will come. And it will come if you build it right. But you have to manage your time, right? And if you're not managing your time, you're going to rush and make mistakes. E is for eager, which is part of having tenacity, right? But when they're eager, they're also a bit they're a bit rushed as well. So it's the two go together. So if you're too eager, you're definitely going to be making mistakes, and you're going to be making what is E for errors. Some of those errors cost money. For example, I had a client who started a business, and he ended up not doing what it was required, not turning in his taxes every year, and he ended up losing his business name. Now he has to go back and pay prior year taxes. He has to pay the fee to get his business revived. It just costs a lot of money when you make mistakes like that. And it can be as simple as just printing out a booklet that you work 2 weeks on. I know I do it all the time when I'm like, oh, I have to get this done. And then I print it out and I realize I have like 10 mistakes. And then I ended up wasting that paper, which ended up costing $120 for toner. And then I got to have like 30 copies of this 20-page paper. It can cost money if you're making errors, right? So be eager, but don't make errors. A is for being assertive. Be assertive in making sure that you are reaching out to people who can give you the answers that you're looking for so that you're not making mistakes. And let me tell you how this ties into T and E. A lot of times you can be assertive and then turn around and be arrogant, right? We have a lot of new business persons. They come out there, they just say, can you just tell me what I want to know so I can get this done? Right? That's the attitude. So now they become arrogant as opposed to assertive. And then the last one is M for management, just managing everything. TEA, management. If you're not being meticulous or making sure that you are doing things right, you're going to be making mistakes. And that is what costs business. So being assertive and having tenacity just really means managing your overall team of yourself in your business. And the reason why I put those analogies together, because eventually you're going to have to hire people who's going to do exactly what you're working to master to do. You're going to be looking for people to have that tenacity, that's going to be eager to help you get your work done, who's going to be assertive in making calls for you so you can make sales, and it's going to help you manage everything that you're trying to do. And if you're not able to master team, then your staff is not going to be able to help you master team.
Wow, great. Again, allow me to just share with our audience that if anyone would like to ask Ann a question, please feel free to do that. If you'd like to, what we call FaceTime, we have 2 vacant cameras. Click the get this spot button and come on and show your handsome and beautiful faces and speak with Ann directly. Now, Ann, as you put that, you kind of scared me a little bit.
I didn't mean to scare you. I mean, it's just so true. It is really so true.
Yes, yes. Now, when contemplating whether or not to start a business, and really you've kind of alluded to that already, what would be some of the suggestions? Should they go alone? Should they start a business through a partnership, or as a business person / entrepreneur yourself?
Mm-hmm.
If I came to you and asked about, and you gave several examples about whether it was tennis shoes or t-shirts. Let's just take tennis shoes. If I asked about starting a tennis shoe business, starting my own brand, would that do just from what you've already shared with us about business? Would that be something that you would suggest that I do, or would you suggest that I might want to partner with someone?
For the very first question I'm going to ask is what new problem out there are you solving with selling tennis shoes? Because there's thousands of shoes out there, okay? There's shoes for every purpose, if you really think about it. You know, if you ever went to one of those stores, I think it's called Speeders or something like that, where you can kind of get shoes and they put you on a treadmill and they evaluate how you walk so they can problem that you have with walking. And then they walk you over to the shoes where they cost anywhere from $150 to $300, and they point to the shoe that they say, this will solve your problem.
Yeah.
That will be my very first question. Are you actually solving a problem with the shoes that you're trying to sell? And then the second thing I would ask you is, who else out there has already had this idea? Did you research who else is doing this so that you can determine whether this is something that you have to do a proof of concept for, or is this something that you're kind of thinking, but you haven't thought it all the way through? And then the third question I would definitely ask is, do you have a following to even sell to? Because you can put it out on Facebook and you can put it out in newsletters. You can even stand outside and do a flyer. But if those people are not your customer, you're wasting time, money, and energy. So those would be the three things that I would ask you. And then based on your answer, I'm going to be able to tell you whether or not you'll be able to do this business or not.
Wow.
Don't get scared, Melvin. Don't get scared. That's just honest truth, you know, and it doesn't matter what it is, really. I just think people just stop and think about those three things. I think that they will have a better idea of what to do, and it will literally force you to think about, is this really something that I can pull off and operate and make money?
Well, actually, wow. And the reason I'm laughing for two reasons, because that was the very next question. You know, is that if what are three major pitfalls in starting up a new business? And again, you've really explained that to us about.
Well, there are some pitfalls.
Yeah.
There are some pitfalls. Okay, the first pitfall is don't take advice from anyone who hasn't started a business or ran a business for more than 2 or 3 years. If you are going to your friends and your cousin and whoever that has never, ever, ever have ran a business before, you can take their feedback and maybe think on it, but that's not something that you want to take action on, because they don't know what it means to run a business. And quite frankly, they're not going to be there for you, which leads me to my second thing. Understand that when you start a business, you will be starting it alone, and you will have, I would say, indirect support, because you'll have people who will say, yes, I would support what you do, but they're not going to buy a product. And if they do, they're just doing it out of sympathy because they love you. You're going to be finding clients who you absolutely do not even know. These are people who are just going to come out the blue. You're going to find them any and everywhere. And they're just going to come up, and one day they're just going to either buy your book, or they're just going to come up and ask you to do some stuff. I meet clients like that all the time. I meet them on LinkedIn. I meet them in my events. I meet them at the grocery store. I meet them anywhere, right? And once I find out what they do and they find out what I do, we find out if we align. And that's the third thing. Don't partner with anybody who doesn't align with what you're trying to do. A lot of people think that if they get money from all these different directions and they put them as sponsors or maybe somebody that's supporting them, you're not building anything credible with your business over time. You have to have some credibility and have businesses that align with what you do to build that credibility. If I start getting people, like for my podcast, if I start getting people that don't align with business or career, and I just start getting kind of Joe Smo, then my podcast wouldn't do what it's doing right now. Okay, you have to think about the end result. And so I think those two things is what most small businesses run into, because they're not stopping and thinking, how is this going to impact my business? And then when it's all said and done, when a really good opportunity comes around, and they're going to get the big fat no. They're going to get the big fat no, because they're going to realize they did not put the foundation in place and they didn't have the right people backing them.
Wow. Wow. Very, very, very powerful. Yeah, listen, no. I wanted to ask that question because I'm sure that other people had wanted to hear that, because, you know, I mean, let's face it, you know, I told you I've had a lot of hiccups when I first went into the business world 20 years ago. I had a lot of hiccups, a lot of frustration. So I just kind of wanted to get that out there. Now, and speaking of that, if we can move into the financial realm here, when we're seeking to secure a business loan, which would be a better source to use? If you had a choice, would it be credit union or bank? Or
okay,
for the loan from mom or dad?
Okay. Well, before I answer that question, Melvin, Kente has a question here saying, what if he's broke and believe he has a great business idea, should he wait until he builds the paper up to try to start the business? I'm going to say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because you need to have a business plan. You hear this all the time, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Before you can invest $1 into your business, you need to understand fully what your business is about, and the business plan forces you to do that. It's going to force you to look at your company as a whole, what you're selling. I have like 6 things that we kind of go over in the class and how we break it down. One is, what is your overall concept of your business? What are you selling? What is the value? Is it solving a problem? Are you getting resources and fulfillment? And how are you going to fulfill these orders once they come in, whatever it is? And then last, how are you going to sell it? If you don't have this stuff written in a business plan with detail, you're going to find yourself spinning around trying to get things together, and you're going to lose time and you're going to lose money. So there's no point in investing any money in business cards or brochures or advertisement or Facebook ads unless you know for certain that you have put out a product that has been tested. I test stuff all the time with my services all the time to see where people fall. And if it doesn't work, I come back and I review it and I said, okay, let me just see what needs to be changed. And then I tweak it and I put it back out there again. Once I know that it can make money, that's when I figure out how I'm going to sell it. Okay, so if you're going to do a business, you need to have that foundation before you do anything. And I would strongly advise that you would get with me. I do have courses. It's called a 10-week small business strategy course, where I walk people from, handhold you literally on how to write your business plan, how to develop your brand, how to get your website, where do you find your clients. I go through the whole gamut from beginning to end, because what I don't want is my clients not knowing what to do. And then to answer your other question, I also would not invest in any kind of credit union loan or any kind of credit card loan until you know that your business can make money. You don't want to put yourself in debt before you had a chance to figure out what your return of investment will be. So if you're going out there, now you can go out there and get establish a relationship with a credit union, because I have a credit union for my bank, okay? But when the time comes for me to scale my business and I want like maybe a $2,000 loan because I may want to buy a special piece of equipment that's going to give me a return of investment, then my bank is going to be able to lend me the money because I have an establishment with that bank. But I'm not going to just go out there and just say, I'm just going to get a bank loan or try to get funding from my friend or whoever. You have to be able to get a return of investment, because that is also the pinnacle of being in business. If you are for profit, you are made to make money. If you are nonprofit, you need to figure out who's going to give you funding to help you do what you do. But you don't want to spend $1 on anything until you know what you're selling is going to make money.
Yeah. See, and I should have met you 20 years ago. I should have met you. Well, listen, speaking of that, when we talk about interest rates, and we know there are all kind of commercials on television, about compounded interest, and I'm not going to ask you to break that down as far as math goes. However, what would you consider in today's market to be a fair interest rate to secure a business loan?
I'm gonna be real with you. It's going to be based on your personal credit. There is a whole myth out there of people saying that you can get business loan based on your business credit or just your EIN, and part of that is true. However, it is still tied to your own personal credit. So your credit score is going to also be one of the decision makings to how much interest you're going to be paying on an SBA loan or any type of funding that you get from a bank. So if your credit is subpar and you're able to get through and they had to kind of work with you on your credit, then that percentage could be a bit high for you. The question is, can you pay it back? Can you make enough money to pay that back to the lender and still have money to run your business and pay for your staff? That would just remains to be seen. And again, that just goes back to my previous thing when I was saying that you don't want to put something out that you know that you're not really going to be able to make money. It all depends on your business structure and what you're trying to do with your business and how you want to run it and how often do you think that you're going to be making money. Because when you do a business, it all depends on how fast you're going or how slow you're going. I just think it all depends on your inability to figure out what you need to do in the different seasons and months when you have slow periods and fast periods. Every business has that. I mean, I have that. I have my different season when things happen, right? And so I look for those streams of income that's coming in. And as a really tiny business, you're always looking to see how your products is going to make money here or there. And then you're going to have periods where you're not making money at all. And you're going to feel like that you want to go to your bank and get some money. But before you do that, just really think about what is that's going on in your business right now that's not working, right? And figure out how you can fix it.
Okay. Wow, this is some valuable information, I'm telling you. Well, and if moving from that, but staying on the same topic, what would you consider an acceptable interest? Well, I asked you that already, but what advertisement outlet do you feel is most effective? Because we, as we know, as business individuals, and you being the expert, you see all kind of ads and how to start your business and how to get more customers and that kind of thing. Is there one or two maybe mediums that are more effective than any other?
I would say for Facebook, it's a lot of work. Facebook is a lot of, you can get customers from Facebook, but you have to spend a lot of time on Facebook Live, a lot of posts, relevant posts, trying to foster people to be active with you, to communicate back with you. It is definitely a lot of work. I do think that LinkedIn, however, would yield the best in terms of meeting the client that most with, it aligns with your business. I think you can kind of drill down to the individual person and you can almost actually get their email address just by just a simple connection on LinkedIn versus on Facebook and Instagram. It's very quick, it's very quick posts, likes, shares, it's over, they're on to the next thing. On LinkedIn, you're kind of nurturing, you're building, and you actually can talk to someone because they see a face with the name, they see your background, they kind of get more, information about you on LinkedIn. So for me, I think it all depends also on your products and services and again, who your customer. You got some people who never ever use Facebook and they get everything online and they get word of mouth. For me, I have to have that human connection, that human element like we're doing right now to build my relationship because that's what I choose to do. But I do think that LinkedIn, if for business purposes, is the best social media platform versus Facebook.
Okay. And might I ask, and our last and final question on this is, can you share with us at least two red flags that we should consider prior to starting? And I know I'm going back to the top, but
It's okay.
I should have asked that earlier about our red flags. Will you share with us possibly two red flags?
Two red flags?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just say that if you are not ready to start a business, after you do the research, let me just say this. After you do the research of what is required to run a business, don't try to run it if you really, really cannot operate the business, meaning you don't have the time, you don't have the money, you don't have the support. Take your time and build the foundation. That's the very first thing that I would, because running a business is not for everybody. It really isn't for everybody because in the end, there is a clear separation between working for someone and making their dream come true and working for yourself. And the other red flag is if you know that that you're having some issues at the time, do your research, get a mentor, get someone who has run a business in the area in which you are trying to do. Find out everything there is to find out about that specific business and determine for yourself, is this something that I am willing to take myself through? Wow. Because a good idea is not always a great idea. Okay. I had great ideas and it went okay. But you know what I did before I started my business, was that I went to people who I admired that I knew that had a business or home-based business at the time. And I literally talked with them and I asked them the hard questions. And then I thought about, what am I going to do? How can I actually do it? And I actually wrote it down on a piece of paper and say, okay, this is what I want to do. But this is what I realistically can do, okay?
Mhm.
And this is how much money I have, and this is going to require this. And then I had to look at the timetable of my other prior engagements. So, for example, I work full time. I might go to church. I might have to deal with my mom. Do I really have the time to put together what I'm trying to put together so I don't get disappointed and things of that nature? So, for those two things, just understand that running a business is not for everybody. And if you're willing to take yourself through it, you got to want to 100% all the way to the end if you want to run a business.
Wow. Very, very powerful. And again, we want to offer the opportunity because we're about to let Miss Ann go and get her some rest. But if you have any questions, ask them now because we are wrapping this broadcast up and we want you to definitely have the opportunity to ask Ms. Austin any questions that you might have. And feel free to come on the camera or just put them in the box. And she can see your questions, so I won't narrate the question, but she can see them clearly. But I do want to thank you very much, Ann, for coming on and sharing with us because I mean
Thank you.
it has helped me. Quite frankly, I'm sitting here going, okay, you did that wrong, that wrong, that wrong. Well, you did do that right. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of times and that you could do stuff right, but it's never. I would just say it's just never too late to go back and get the missing pieces. And so, what I provide at Austin Tech is to help you get the missing pieces that you need to elevate your business to the next level. And it just comes with just investing in yourself and being humble about the fact that you are missing some stuff and that there is someone out there that can help to where you're trying to go to. And that's really what it's all about. If you know someone in your area that is doing something similar to what I'm doing, reach out to them, or you can reach out to me at austintech.com or email me at infoservices@alstntec.com. And also want to just remind everybody, Melvin's on my Business Men and Women of Color podcast, which is a online global podcast platform that fosters careers in business and help you promote your services. So happy to have Melvin going to be on there representing what he does. And so thank you for having me on your platform, Melvin. I had a blast.
listen, first of all, thank you very much for the plug. And thank you for being here, guys. I know that you've been greatly helped, and please take advantage of the information that has been shared on this platform, and make sure you contact Ms. Ann Austin. Now, as you know, this is the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. I am Melvin Lars. I am a business owner. Dare to be positive. We do violence intervention prevention. You heard I mention consulting, etc. That's what we do. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. I do a weekly column on the Good Men Project. Also, I'm a weekly. I'm getting tongue tied. We do every week on the show that I'm having a senior moment here. That's called "Do You Know What Time It Is?" And what that platform is, you have what is being billed as African American thought leaders, and we discuss trending topics of today. So when you hear Don Lemon and these guys, or when you hear Rush Limbaugh and these other individuals, pretty much that's what we do. We just kind of decipher information that's out there, and it comes from a Black mirror perspective. The Time It Is show is an award-winning show. Dr. Vibe was just given the broadcast award just November of 2018, which is 2 or 3 awards that he's already received, and he's kind enough to have me on the platform. And I'll let him know. He said, normally he comes and joins us sometime, but listen, last thing we want to share, you can contact me, www.dyingonmyfeet.com. Once you get there, you will find at least 7 or 8 social media outlets, and feel whatever you're comfortable looking for, then go there. My latest book is debuting Mother's Day. It is titled Mothers and Their Smen, an introspective look at mothers rearing their sons. And we wanted to write that book because we know there's so much conversation out there and so much talk about can women rear boys. And we wanted to put together that book. We've interviewed over 2,000 mothers. And over the years, when I was an administrator, we talked to mothers from all professional backgrounds, from our mothers that were, quote, domestic, unquote, to our mothers that had some that were attorneys, some were physicians, nurses, etc. And the one common theme always was, I want him to be a productive man. That was the one common thing. So be on the lookout for that book. It's going to be in Barnes and Nobles. You can go to my website. You can order the book, or you can order it from me. And my publication that's currently out there now is called Dying on My Feet, My Journey Times 2. I'm an acute promyelocytic leukemia survivor. And we not only talk about surviving leukemia, it is a book that I called, and I've been told that it's motivational, and we know that it's transformational because it talks about a lot of things. So listen, it's been great having you here again, Ann, and it's been great to have you guys on the platform. Now, just let me share with them, man. I want them to come back all this month. We have been doing basically 3 shows per week, and I know you guys look for me on Fridays. We've been doing 3 shows per week, but now we're getting back to our regular format, which is every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, we will have with us as our guest. Let me share that with you, please, real quickly. We will have with us as our guest. We'll be talking about autism and the effects of autism. Her name, by the way, is Austin, but it's spelled Austin. And she'll be with us talking about autism, and she works with children of all races, but primarily color. Then following her next week, we are going to have Charissa Monroe. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of Dr. Miles Monroe, and you know of his tragedy a couple of years ago. Charissa has now taken over it's called The Kingdom, and so Charissa will be with us on the 22nd. And we'll be talking about her business, entrepreneurship. We'll probably touch a little bit on the tragedy with her mom and dad in that fateful crash a couple of years ago. So please come back and join us Friday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Listen, it's been great. We want to again thank Miss Ann as we get ready to sign off here. And we thank all of you for joining us. And it's been great. From the Nobody Ask Me guy, enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.